know some people are still coming upstairs from the last session.
The suspense is killing me.
All right, I think we'll get started. So I will be interviewing today. We're going to be talking about digital tools, which I guess is the whole theme for this conference, but more specifically community and leadership within research platform services. So I just want to start by going across. So I'll introduce myself. I am Miriam, and I'm studying mathematics and statistics. And I work with the Australian Red Cross Blood Service to reduce donor wait times for blood donors. So I'll just go through each of us here. So starting with Brian, what is your area of study or interest or research? And also your educational background.
I'm studying a master's in philosophy, specifically philosophy of time. I have a large background in metaphysics, or studying metaphysics. And when I came across my focus on philosophy of time, I realized I had to have a lot of mathematical background, as well as physics. And I had to be able to present the documents, mathematics in documents, and thus LaTeX.
Okay, so okay, we'll start from the end. So just introduce yourself. You'll have to hold the mic quite close to your mouth as well.
So I'm Surabhi, and I'm a PhD student in Department of Infrastructure Engineering, and I'm a third-year PhD student. I am bachelor's in computer science and master's in geoinformatics. And currently I'm working on conceptualizing negotiations between self-driving vehicles and pedestrians. So basically I'm working on the philosophical part, the behavioral part of self-driving cars, how to embed social capabilities in self-driving vehicles. And so I'm close to finishing my PhD now, and for that I'm using MATLAB tool, which I'll talk about more in this interview.
Sharing.
Okay, just hold it quite close.
Yeah. And I'm Ben Croonan. I'm the Technical Support Officer with the Digitisation Centre in the library here, just off down past PAs in the Pittman Book Building. I'm a scientific photographer by qualification. Studied zoology and botany at Melbourne Uni for a year and a half before transferring to RMIT. My job primarily involves trying to find ways to actually do things. And often in some of the consultations that we have with researchers and PhD students is that we're often bridging the gap. So they'll have an idea, they'll know what technology they want to use, but they don't actually know how to actually get past a particular hurdle that they've got. And so we're often helping them bridge that gap, because I study how to do things, basically.
Yeah, so we've got quite a variety of different areas of interest and research here. And a couple of you mentioned at the end some of the digital tools that you're representing here. But I wanted to ask more generally, what are some of the skills and tools that you use in your research? So,
Well, I suppose a great deal of my research is reading, and then there's a great deal of logic, which is slightly more difficult and more abstract. In terms of tools, I predominantly just use LaTeX. I have used other software programs, but this is the one that sort of suits my discipline more.
great. And I want to add on to the end of that question as well. How did you learn those skills and tools? So I'll let Brian just answer that.
Well, I actually I went quickly online, and then I was using the library, and I did discover ResBaz, and I immediately went, oh, I'm a serial volunteer for everything. I may as well just volunteer for these guys. And Miriam quickly taught me, And so I volunteered, and by volunteering and trying to teach others, I learnt so much more and quickly immersed myself in the program. And I would say that actually it was the more difficult students who taught me the most. They taught me my weaknesses, and they taught me how to learn better. Anyway.
Yeah, great response. Okay, so again, the question is, what skills and tools do you use for your research, and how did you learn those skills and tools?
Okay, so first I'll give you a brief of my research. So that is, I told earlier that it's conceptualizing negotiations between self-driving vehicles and pedestrians. So right now we don't have any such software where we can actually simulate the behavior of an, oh sorry, is it okay? Yeah. So right now we don't have any such software where we can simulate an autonomous vehicle behavior. Either they are either Bazaar of force experiments or virtual reality or something. So my topic is somewhat interdisciplinary, where I have to do behavior modeling of pedestrians to show the negotiations with vehicles, and I have to work on the mathematical models of vehicle motion, and also I have to show the impacts of this negotiation on the traffic flow. So I have to do the traffic flow dynamics and statistical analysis to show my results. So for that, what I used was MATLAB, which has the capability to interface with Sumo, which is a traffic simulator, a microscopic traffic simulator. So in Sumo, I can generate and simulate the vehicle and pedestrian behavior, and I can show how they are moving in the actual scenario. I can create an environment, and I can then show how the vehicles and pedestrians are moving there. I can also fetch there, since I have interfaced it with MATLAB, I can fetch the vehicle parameters and the pedestrian movement parameters in MATLAB, and then my negotiation model was totally implemented as an algorithm in MATLAB. So that interfacing using Tracy for MATLAB interface helped me in applying my algorithm and then visualizing it in the Sumo traffic simulation and actually seeing how the vehicles and pedestrians are behaving. So for this, actually, because there was no such tool, so it was my curiosity of searching how to simulate it. So it was a bit of my supervisor, Stephen Winter's idea to how to use both the capabilities of a traffic simulator and the MATLAB for implementing our algorithm and for visualizing everything. So out of my curiosity, I learned through the tutorials available for interfacing MATLAB and Sumo. And I was very new to Sumo when I started my PhD, so I learned it all by myself. So yes, and MATLAB, I had previously used MATLAB for years, like it's about now 10 years since I'm using MATLAB. So I was pretty much comfortable in doing all the statistical analysis there. So once I was successful in interfacing that with Sumo and all my vehicle parameters and pedestrian parameters was coming to me, it was very easy for me to implement my algo and finish my PhD early. So that's what my story was.
Well, I'm a nerd basically, so I use quite a lot of tools, relational databases, a lot of the automation that I do with the Digitisation Centre and also with other people that we work with is often just done with Windows command line, using freely available programs like ImageMagick, EXIF Tool, most of the other sort of file format things like GoScript, QPDF. I spend a lot of time online in forums trying to solve problems. You've usually got to contribute to forums as well to actually get really good help as well. So helping others also basically helps me learn as well. Other than that, I guess one of the characteristics, I guess, of my kind of role is that I have a talent, I guess, for looking at very small details of a problem, but also seeing how that fits in with a much broader context for an entire workflow that sort of fits into, which is kind of important when you start trying to find out where things break or where things won't work, and trying to predict where they won't work.
And that feeds in very well to my next question, which was, what advice would you give to someone who's looking to learn those tools that we've just discussed? So in terms of getting started and different things that they should research when they're learning these tools?
Well, you're already here at ResBaz. They provide great services. And I think Ben mentioned forums. Whatever software tool you're using, there'll be a lot of blogs and a lot of forums out there that you can quickly get advice from people at. Beyond that, of course, the libraries here have got a great collection of books that give you access.
Did you have any advice?
Yes,
For
I
learning
support
MATLAB.
the idea of following the forums and taking that advice, but also you should be aware of the actual documentation of the tools, because sometimes you just blindly use whatever is mentioned in the forum, but it works out something differently when you use it. So it's better to read the original documentation of the tool as well and understand how and what are you using, whatever you have learned from the forum. So that is what I want to add.
Ben, did you have anything to add in terms of advice
I
for
did.
people? Yes.
My presentation today had a slightly different theme as well, based on this. I guess I'm going to ask the question of why are we actually trying to learn all these things when there are actually people and experts out there that can actually do those things. But the problem we have is that we don't have access to them, or that we're not actually employing them to provide access to people like that. So I guess most people here are PhDs or early career graduates? No? Yes? There really has been a big depletion of technical support across the university over the last decade. And it basically boils down to you not having experts that you can go to. So you're actually relying in a lot of cases on other PhD students who just happen to have been doing it longer than you have. So I guess if anything, ask the hard questions of your departments and your faculties and the research support organisations that say they're supporting you and saying, why can't you actually get expert help? And why am I having to learn all these different things when I'm also then trying to deal with the subject matter of my thesis or your field of research?
Now, there's a reason that we've picked these three people for this interview, and that's because they each have a role within Research Platform Services, who's running this Bazaar. So I wanted to ask you, what is your role within this community? And what motivated you to get involved with the community and to take on that role?
Right, I think what you'd call a res lead, or during the presentations of LaTeX, I act as a tutor for all the people who are attending. I took on that role not only because I wanted to give back for what I learned, but I also knew that I would learn more about the software by helping other people solve their problems. I would learn about problems that I didn't know about, as well as just having that repetition of learning.
Yes, are your roles similar on this end? And how did you, what was your motivation in getting involved?
Yeah, so as a PhD student, I can understand that there are like a lot of problems in thinking about implementing your ideas. And I believe that learning is continuous. It's not like that I have learned everything what I did in my PhD. I can obviously do more, and that's by interacting with your peers and telling them more about your work and getting more critical feedback about that so that you can learn more. So I think my role here is, as a PhD student, I can deliver more about my work and take back more critiques from others. So it's like sharing and also taking back something.
Okay, and for me, as a technical support officer, we basically spend our time helping people. That said, I work with this very small team of people, so I don't actually have a role really with ResBaz, other than I keep answering my emails and saying yes to people when they ask me to turn up or give presentations or stand up the front and show what we do. But I don't mind that either, because it's quite nice to be actually able to give people new perspectives on the technology that they're using. I've had a couple of people actually change their whole line of course because of what they learnt, which was really inspiring, and they're still actually doing that. But yeah, it's a fine balance. So I'm still under pressure from our own executives to to not commit myself to too many things, but at the same time we're also trying to show that we're a centre of excellence and expertise. So you can't really do that without actually contributing and showing that.
Yes. So for anyone who might be interested in getting involved with some of these similar roles to these, I want to ask, how did you first get involved? And do you have any advice for anyone who would be interested in getting involved with research platform services? For example, attending some of the events that we hold, not only as a participant and attendee, but also in helping out as well.
I first got involved because my lecturer here used these tools, and I crunched every book in the library, and then I saw research platform services, and I attended a couple of diverse range of their presentations before, and got very familiar with LaTeX, and just decided to contribute by tutoring, which was just very easy. I think, I'm not too sure, I think I asked, or I can't even remember how it happened now, but here I am.
Yes, so I got involved with Research Bazaar like 2 years back when I was looking for how to take forward my PhD because as I told you that I had to interface with 2 different types of softwares to think about how to implement such a concept. So yeah, so I came here and I looked into, earlier I was interested in learning Python. I didn't know Python, and I tried first implementing my things with the Python, so that I was able to learn from here. And then I was interested in learning more about MATLAB, although I know it. So I was looking for different options here. And then last year, I came here with a presentation, with my own presentation of interfacing MATLAB with Sumo, which I presented here and showed a demo of the vehicle pedestrian simulations using MATLAB. And yeah, today I'm here for the interview.
And I'm here because I've been around for a while, and I've actually grown up with a lot of these people at the university over the last 20 plus years. They have my email address, which is why I'm here, and my phone number. But we also provide training within our own unit, and so I find ResPlat actually useful for actually engaging the actual audiences to which some of our training is targeted towards, because we sometimes have a bit of trouble getting students to turn up to library training, even though it's technically the same thing as what research platform services do. So.
Yeah. So if you are interested in becoming a leader and volunteering, please let any of the people presenting in the tents know, and you can give an email address and they'll give you more information. I'd like to thank all of our interviewees today, and we've got a couple of gifts for you as well. So thank you very much, and we'll head down for the next sessions downstairs.